Could somebody confirm you can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you. All right, today is Tuesday, January 16th, and we're going to have a short lab today, but I do want to talk about the infectious disease project. Any questions? All right, the infectious disease project is a lab project and it is worth 100 points. In this project, you're going to be picking one specific infectious disease and determining the cause of the disease, what the microbe does to the human body, how we treat the disease, and how social, economic, and political factors affect our ability to deal with the disease. And you're going to become an expert on one particular disease. That's the goal of this project. Any questions? Sorry, I have a little bit of a frog in my throat. So pick an infectious disease and check with me about whether you can do the project on this disease. If no one has your disease and it's an infectious disease, I will tell you, yes, you can work on it. But everyone must work on a different project. And there are various gimmicks I can use so that different people can work on a similar but different project. Like somebody wants to do something with influenza, the flu, I can break it down into somebody can do a project on influenza A, somebody can do it on influenza B, somebody can do it on influenza C. Some other diseases I break apart by early and late stages. With syphilis, I already given somebody, well, I don't know if it's this class, it's probably Monday, Wednesday class. Somebody who's already taken early stage syphilis, and so I'll allow the next person to do late stage syphilis. So there are various gimmicks I can do to break the disease into different categories. Like AIDS, I can break it into AIDS caused by HIV-1 and HIV-2. And then malaria, I can break malaria caused by the different species that cause malaria. Plasmodium ovale, Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium malariae, and a couple of other different species. But you must get approval from me for what your project is, and I will make certain it's an infectious disease and that you're the only person who has this specific topic. Oftentimes, I'll narrow down a disease, like some people want to do pneumonia, and I will tell them, no, you can't do pneumonia because it's caused by too many different organisms. Pick one organism which causes pneumonia, and then you can do your project on that topic. And there's many different bacteria that can cause pneumonia, but there's a couple of different viruses that can cause pneumonia. And I think at least two or three yeast that can also cause pneumonia, or maybe fungi. So pick a disease, email me to get it approved, and then learn about your disease, do your research, and submit a written report. The written report must be typed, must be single spaced with 1-inch margins and 12-point font. If you notice, I have glasses and these are reading glasses. So it must be 12-point font or I'll have a hard time reading it. when you write your report, I do want cover information, but don't make a cover page. Put your cover information just on top of your first page of the text. Any question about any of that? The text will be your main body part of your report, and the text does not include pictures or the reference section. And the text should be about 5 pages long, single-sided pages. If it's less than 4 pages long, you'll get a penalty. And if it's more than 6 pages long, you'll get a penalty. So make sure it's between 4 and 6 pages long, single-sided text pages.
Do you mean single spaced?
Single space, sorry, single
Okay.
space.
I just want to make sure.
In your report, you should describe all aspects of the disease that are in the report content section, and I'll talk about what your report should have later. Right now, I want to talk about your text. The text part of the report will be worth 60 points with an additional 15 points for grammar, spelling, flow, and readability. The text should be written in your own words. You may use direct quotes and then give a citation for where you got your quotes from, but otherwise you'll be plagiarizing information. Any question about that? If ever you have the report more than 50% of the material in direct quotes, I will mark you down. The word text should be written with your own words wherever possible. But where you want to quote somebody, put it in quotes and say where you got the quote from, or else it is plagiarizing. If you plagiarize on this project, you will get a 0 on a 100-point project. You should also, whenever you give information that is not commonly known, you should give a citation. And it's an in-text citation. I will tell you a little bit more about an in-text citation right now. Let me get a new page up. So when you're talking about information that is common knowledge, like the flu tends to hit every winter time and it hits lots of people, that's common knowledge. But if you say something like in, I don't know, the state of Washington in 2023, there were, let's say, 2021 deaths from the flu, that is not common knowledge. And you should put the information and then put an in-text citation right after it. And then you go on and write your report. And then you give your next information that's not common knowledge. And you state something like in the United States in 2022, there were, gosh, what would it be? Maybe about 300 million deaths in the United States. That is not common knowledge. So put an in-text citation. That should have been citation up above, by the way. Let me put that in there. And then give your information. And then you have another piece of information. Make this one a little longer. And you say something like, children are particularly sensitive to malaria, and most of the deaths in the world happen to children, something like that. Something that's not, let's say we're talking about malaria, and most of the deaths come from malaria, happen to children. Something that's not common knowledge, give another in-text citation. I'll show you how to do an in-text citation in just a minute. And then we have our next in-text citation. Let me just copy that. Come on. Oh, come on. Ah, didn't quite get it right, but that's good enough. So that's the way you do an in-text citation. The only exception is if this knowledge and this knowledge and this knowledge and this knowledge all come from the same source, then you don't need to give 1, 2, 3, 4 in-text citations, although that's not wrong. But you could, at the end of the paragraph, only give one in-text citation, and it should be at the end of the paragraph so that people know that this in-text citation applies to the entire paragraph. Okay, so all of this information, which is not common knowledge, comes from this one in-text citation at the end of the paragraph. Any question about any of that? Now, how you do it in
I have a quick question. So you wanted 5 pages max. Are we allowed to put our works cited on like a 6-page?
I didn't understand your question. Can you repeat it?
So you said we can't have any more than 5 pages total.
No, I told you you can have 6 pages without a penalty. You can
Oh,
make it longer, you'll just get a penalty.
okay, got it.
Okay, how you do an in-text citation is usually you put them in parentheses. You give the author's last name and then the year of publication. For example, Smith, 2023. That's if there's a single author. If there's 2 authors, you give, let me just copy this. You give the 2 authors. Smith and Jones, and then you give the year of publication, 2003. If there's more than 2 authors, you go, let me just copy that again. Smith et al. 2023. So 3 or more authors, you go Smith et al. 2023 for an in-text citation. Let me put that up here. That should be bolder. All right. Any questions about that? Now, the et al. Is essentially only used in the in-text citation. The full citations, which are usually called references, happens at the end of your report. And I probably shouldn't have done that. Let's just copy that. And the references will not count for the pictures for the size of your text. So the text should be 4 to 6 pages long, not counting the references or the pictures. You should give each in-text citation in the full citation. Only here, you need to give the name, which can be the full name. I'm just going to abbreviate A period J for Smith, and Jones we'll abbreviate again, J Jones, the year 2023, And then you should give the title. Actually, that should not be in parentheses here. You should give the title of the article, the source of the article, and maybe some other information like the page number. We'll go over all of this in a bit. Sorry. And there are different ways of doing this. For a journal, like a scientific journal, you do something like this. Smith AJ, Jones JJ, the year 2023, the title of the article, which could be something like influenza in the United States in 2023. The source here would be the journal. Let's go Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. And then you should have the volume number. I'm just going to give a number there. And then the page number. So that's how you do a full citation for a journal. For a book, there's a few other things you put in a book. Let me go ahead and put all of that. Once again, you give the authors, the year, the title of the article, which may be something like the chapter, title of the book. It wouldn't be a journal, it'll be the book name. Which I suppose I should call that name of book. And then you give the editor and then the publisher and then the city of publication. And lastly, the page number. The exact order of these is not terribly important. You can take a look at different ways of doing it. We'll talk about how you can do it. It doesn't matter as long as you use the same format. You can use MLA or what are the others? Scientific citation. What's another format? APA, MLA. You can use any commonly used citation format, any one you want to. You just shouldn't mix up the formats. So you use the same format on each reference.
I wasn't clear. So if the reference page is considered a page, so if we're going to
The
six
reference
pages,
page is not considered a page.
okay, good to know. Thank you.
All right, if you have, that's for a book. I should probably bold that. Or a journal. And then the third other most common is web site or website or internet. Once again, you give the authors, the year, the title of the article, and here you don't give the journal name, the volume, and the page number. You give the web address. And that's how you give a full citation. You will note that the use of et al. Is essentially not allowed in the full citations. There is an exception, and I almost don't want to mention the exception. The exception is if you have 8 or more authors, you can actually spell out the first 6 and then go et al. And then give the last author. Okay. And that's so rare, you're not going to most likely come across it, and I will allow it. But generally, the use of et al. Is not allowed in the full citations. If you do use et al., you'll get a penalty. Okay. And students frequently get the full citations and the in-text citations wrong, in which case they get a penalty. Usually it's not more than about 2 points, but 2 points each would be 4 points. Any questions about the citations, either the in-text citation or the full citations? All right, I'll leave that in case a question comes up. Let's talk a little bit more about citations. In-text citations are going to be worth 10 points. You should use any commonly used citation format. Sources cited in your paper should be scientifically appropriate and reputable. I've got different sources here which would be appropriate. You should not use suspicious sources like religious, politically, or privately funded publications or websites, personal websites, college, university pages that contain student information. It's just that these sites are not reliable. Anyone can put up anything they want on the internet, and it may not be reliable, and it can also be contain a bias. No Wikipedia, because if you use Wikipedia, anyone can go in there and then just change the information on Wikipedia at any time. And so you don't know if Wikipedia is accurate or not. I'm not saying you can't use Wikipedia for your own use, but you cannot use it as a source. In the literature citation page, you should list all sources cited in the in-text part of the paper, and then any that you don't cite, but you use to make your paper. You should use the same citation in your in-text and your full citation. You must have at least 4 unique sources in the literature citation page, and they must be reputable and scientifically approved. And generally, I can just look at a reference and look and see whether it is a valid reference or an invalid reference, meaning I'm so good I can just look. Something like you're quoting from the Sun paper or the National Enquirer, I'd say, no, that's not allowed, okay? If it's from the New York Times, they actually try to publish facts and they try to verify that they're facts. And so New York Times is allowed. Any reputable scientific journal like American Scientist, Science News, all of those stories are actually, what's the word? Reference, meaning they have an expert look at it to make sure it's okay. All of your textbook is actually referenced. If you look at your textbook, in one of the early pages, they list on a page all of the people who did reference the textbook, and you'll find that it's a large number that actually reference the textbook. All publications which are published in scientific journals are also referenced, meaning somebody, usually 2 authors, read over the article And if there wasn't something up to par, they required the author to change it to bring it up to par. The complete literature citation page, the full references, is worth 15 points. And then you should submit the final report to the folder in Canvas. It must be a document of docx, meaning MS Word format, a rich text format, or RTF, WRI format, that's Microsoft Word, and it will be checked for plagiarism by, I used to know the name of this, turn it in. Any question about any of that? All right. In the text portion of your report, you should include certain information within a subheading. You must use the subject subheadings so I know where the topic that you're discussing begins and where it ends. If you're missing the subject subheadings, you will get a penalty. So you must talk about the causative agent, the history, the epidemiology, the pathology, the response and treatment, and then the socio-political economic considerations. You must talk about these and you must have a subheading. The report will be graded as such, meaning the grading rubric follows this, the last page. You will be graded 1 point on your cover information. You will be graded 9 points on the causative agent, what is causing the infection. If it's a bacteria, you must talk about the gram reaction, the shape and arrangement of the cells, metabolic capabilities, and anything particular about this species causing that disease. For viruses, you'll talk about something different. We'll talk about viruses late in the term, but you got to talk about the genetic molecule that's the genome of the virus, meaning is it a DNA or an RNA virus? Is the virus an envelope virus or is it a naked virus? What's the size of the virus? Does the virus have a provirus? We'll talk about that later in the term. What's the multiplication cycle of the virus? If it's a eukaryotic organism causing the disease, mention the kingdom that the eukaryotic organism is found in, whether the organism is multi or unicellular. For all of the yeast, it's unicellular. For a worm, it'll be multicellular. The life cycle of the eukaryote and any specific metabolic capabilities of the causative agent. Give me the history of the organism, how long we known about the disease, the history of the vaccine. If there's no vaccine, just say no vaccine. Changes in our knowledge and attitudes of this disease throughout history. And most diseases do have that, but something that's really new, like COVID-19, we don't have a lot of history on it. But if you go in, you can talk about how COVID-19 has changed. And I don't know how many different strains there have been of COVID-19 because it's a large number. Within the first 2 years, there were already something like 5 different strains of COVID-19 that came out. And it might have been more than that. I'm sure it was, but some of them didn't circulate. Tell me about the epidemiology of the disease, the pathology of the disease, the response and treatment, and the social, political, and economic issues. All of these topics, except for causative agents, will be worth 10. Causative agents is worth 9 points. Then you'll be graded 15 points on the quality of writing. If your grammar is good, the spelling is good, the punctuation is good, the flow and readability are good, you'll get 15 points. 10 points on the in-text citation. Remember, you should cite anything that is not common knowledge. Sometimes people don't give enough citations, you get a penalty. Obviously, the only other penalty I remember giving students, although I might have given another, would be if you don't have the in-text citation correct, the correct format. And then the literature citation page, it must have the correct citation format. Your index citation should match your literature citation in the literature citation page. You must have at least 4 reputable literature citations, and then the format should be correct, as well as you cannot use at all, with one exception, in the literature citation page. That'll be a total of 100 points. Any question about this project? I think that's it. So what you want to do is think about it, come up with an infectious disease project, and then email me to get approval. I may narrow it down. Like I said, pneumonia has to be narrowed down to one species causing pneumonia. I may break it down into a category like influenza A causing the flu. And that way different people can do slightly different topics. And then I'll make sure it's an infectious disease. And then the first person who asks for a topic, you'll get it. Everybody else who comes later asking for that same topic cannot have that topic, and they will have to come up with another topic. Now, early on, it's okay to only submit or ask one topic in an email, but later on in this term, you should be submitting multiple topics, because a lot of topics will already be chosen by later in the term. Any question about any of that? If not, that's it for this lab. I told you it would be short, and I will see you in the next lab.
Thank you. Have a nice night.
All right, you too.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, you too.
Thank you.
Bye.